Hello, everyone. Welcome to the A Train to Sedona. The A Train to Sedona is also the name of a book I wrote, a memoir where I share my spiritual journey. I wrote the book to have my voice be heard and also in the hope that my journey would inspire yours. You can purchase a signed copy at lindamarsanego.com on Buy the Book page. You can also get a regular copy at retail stores and bookstores. Now, on Amazon, you can read the first 7 pages for free. Let's remember that in New York City, the A train is an express train, so hop on board. I have a free gift for you, the cheat sheet for high vibration living, a series of 7 exercises that help you so much in today's very, what can I say, troubled world. There is a regular meditation, a walking meditation, and also an exercise to bring down the violet light over your body to heal and protect. You can download a copy of that on my website at Linda Marcel. Today, my guest is Dr. Ani Kalayjian. Dr. Ani Kalayjian is on the faculty of Columbia University, and for Meaningfulworld, she is a multicultural and multilingual psychotherapist, genocide prevention scholar, international humanitarian outreach administrator, integrative healer, United Nations representative. She is the founder and president of the Association for Trauma Outreach and Prevention. She was awarded the Lifetime Achievement Award in 2024 from the American Psychological Association. She was Outstanding Psychologist of the Year in the American Psychological Association in the year 2016. She was awarded a humanitarian award from the University of Missouri Columbia in 2014. In 2010, she got an honorary Human Rights Award. She received an honorary Doctor of Science degree from Long Island University in 2001. Dr. Kalayjian is a pioneering clinical researcher, humanitarian outreach administrator, community organizer, and psycho-ecological facilitator around the globe and at the UN. She has 100 published articles, 6 books, 50 films, over 100 publications on global humanitarian relief. Dr. Kalayjian has led volunteer humanitarian missions in 49 countries. There have been 116 missions in 8 regions of the world and in 26 states in the United States. I am so honored to have you on my show, Dr. Kalayjian.
Thank you. Thank you so much, Linda. This is an amazing platform. May it be express or local, however, people need, whatever speed people need to progress and transform. I really appreciate this spiritual, psychological, and wonderful platform to share the journey that I have been going through and still transforming with each humanitarian relief work, with each experience with our interns at Meaningfulworld, with our United Nations affiliation and the programs. It's a learning in progress.
Isn't that wonderful? We're always learning. And I had my first question for you is, when you think of yourself as a young person and adolescence, what from that time brings you in your development to where you are now in this distinguished place?
It's a very important question, and a very fundamental question that you're asking, because that's where adolescence is, where we form our identity and we make sense of the
Mhm.
senseless, if you may, of the world and with all its challenges. And growing up, my adolescence, I spent half in Syria and the other half here in the United States of America. So, growing up in Syria, I was totally confused. It didn't make sense to me because I was going through collective trauma of the war with Israel, constant wars. And Linda, it's not like the wars here where America is in war in many countries, but we don't feel it. We don't experience it firsthand. In Syria, it was an everyday struggle, running to sub basements, negotiating with mice, and having our windows shatter
Mm.
because the planes will fly so low that with the vibration, we had to change our glass so many times, put plastic. With the starch and blue color painted. I think they thought that starch and blue color would make it look like nobody living there or something. I'm not even sure.
Mhm.
But all that collective trauma and then the individual trauma of being between two brothers, 3 years younger, 3 years older, and having a totally different set of rules. They would be able to run around, ride a bicycle. I was prohibited from getting outside the house because I had also generational trauma of the Ottoman Turkish genocide of the Armenians, where my father was a survivor, my mother was a child of survivor, so they were still scared. Fear was permeating. And they many times I came home, even before adolescence, I was 7 or 8, school age, and I see them crying or flipping through the newspaper trying to find old relatives that they have no idea where they are. Are they dead or have they moved? Because with the genocide, 2 million were killed, but the rest were distributed like wherever they could go, basically missionaries, wherever they could give them passports or visas or whatever permission to travel. United States, Argentina, France, Brazil, Netherlands, all over the world. And when I asked what was going on, because I could feel, I was sensing all their sadness and inquiry and wonderment, they would brush me off and say, "Go do your homework. Everything is okay." But I did feel that everything was not okay. And I would ask who died because it was,
Mhm.
for me, that sad. And when they didn't explain what happened, because they said they were protecting me from the horrors, what
Yes.
they experienced. But at
Right.
the same time, they could have told me something so that
Mhm.
I don't suffer continuously. I remember going to the outhouse and crying my eyes out. And I didn't want to show it to them because I knew they were already sad. I didn't want to worry them. They didn't want me to worry. So it was like both of us trying to protect ourselves in vain.
Mm.
So there was the generational individual trauma and then collective trauma of the war. It was all just too much. And I would say to my mother at age 8, I remember, this is not right. This is not right. Why is my brother on the bicycle and I'm
Mhm.
not allowed to ride a bicycle? Of
Yeah.
course, when I came to United States, I started riding motorcycle. That's my compensation. I said, okay, you're going to limit my, I'm going to go all the way to the motorcycle, forget the bicycle. So it was, and when I came to United States at 15 years of age in an affluent high school in North Jersey, I was discriminated right and left. They would ask me, "Where are you from?" And I would say, "Syria." "Oh, get away, you're a terrorist." But I'm not Syrian, I'm Armenian. Even today, like Syria is going through war, and Americans think that they're all Muslim. Not that it means that you have to, not care about Muslims, but they would, even congressmen would saying things like, "Oh, we don't want any Muslims come as any Syrians, any Muslims coming through." But Syrians can be anything.
Mm-hmm.
Christian, Jewish, Muslim, any religion. So the ignorance that I found
Mm-hmm.
initially when I came here, they had no idea. They would ask me questions. "Oh, do you ride the camel? Do you have cars?" I'm like, "Of course we have cars." They
Oh,
have cars in Syria. And then when I said I'm Armenian, they were like, "What's that?" They had no clue.
yes.
And when I explained, well, Armenia is part of the Soviet Union, because at that time in the mid 70s, it was still part of the Soviet Union. And when the Soviet Union collapsed, Armenia became independent in 1992.
Ah,
All they knew, I said, "It's part of the Soviet Union." "Oh, stay away, you're a communist."
oh,
I couldn't win for anything. I couldn't get through. And one thing that really, really still makes me really uncomfortable is that they wouldn't even let me use the bathroom. Um,
oh dear.
and they said in order for me to use the bathroom, I had to start smoking cigarettes. So I was pretending just to go through. But when I got their respect is when my brother, younger brother, the one who could ride the bicycle, he used power and violence. He
Oh,
put one of the kids who was, kind of putting him down. He put his head in the locker, closed the door, and
oh,
he became the king. And then I was respected because I was the king's, the big guy who is strong and uses violence. I was his brother. And that's when I started getting respect. So that really didn't make sense for me as an
mm,
adolescent. I said, what kind of world is this? It's just like the enemies I was running from in
mhm.
Syria. They're also here in an affluent, rich high school. So all those discriminations, firsthand, individual, collective, generational traumas, really shaped my path
Yes.
to commit to human rights. That's why we are so active at the United Nations. We have at least 4 or 5 programs that are
Mhm.
affiliated with the UN. We have our parallel program to the Commission of Status of Women on March 13, and I hope you can all come and join us. So we want to go through and educate people that this United Nations Human Rights Declaration was written in 1945, but nobody knows about it. Linda, we go through 50 countries and we educate them, because that's how you're going to be able to stand up.
Yes.
Like
Yeah.
Martin Luther King said, peaceful resistance. When you
Yes.
know what your rights are, you can stand up. You don't need to fight or put people's head in a locker closet, and really go down to using violence, drones, and all this to kill each other. You can talk assertively using the laws that we have, international laws, human rights declarations, genocide prevention, all. I mean, United Nations has so many, Linda, beautiful documents, and all in 5 languages all the time to educate people.
Yes.
The people don't know, and that's what we do in every country that we go to.
And so I want to hear so much more about this. Do need to take a break.
Yeah.
When we come back, Ani, I'd like to ask you about the role of spirituality in your life. But
Oh,
for now, we're going to take a break. And we'll be back to talk about the role of spirituality and many, many more exciting things about the work of Meaningful World in this.
Wonderful.
Are you a conscious co-creator? Are you on a quest to raise your vibration and your consciousness? I'm Sam Leibowitz, your conscious consultant, and on my show, The Conscious Consultant Hour Awakening Humanity, we will touch upon all these topics and more. Listen live at our new time on Thursdays at 12 noon Eastern Time. That's The Conscious Consultant Hour Awakening Humanity, Thursdays 12 noon on talkradio.nyc.
Are you a high-achieving, growth-oriented leader? Are you interested in developing your authentic leadership while creating a healthy, inclusive workplace? Hi, I'm Dr. Mira Brancu, host of The Hard Skills on talkradio.nyc at 5 p.m. Eastern on Tuesdays, where we discuss how leaders develop the hard skills needed to make a greater impact. We interview experts, have live coaching, and tackle these challenges. Listen to The Hard Skills on Tuesday at 5 p.m. Eastern on talkradio.nyc.
You're listening to Talk Radio NYC. Uplift, educate, empower.
Hello, everyone. Welcome back to the A Train to Sedona with my guest, Dr. Ani Kalayjian. Ani, would you tell us about the role of spirituality in your life? I need to unmute yourself. Let's see if you're unmuted. Yes.
That seems to be a very important question that has kind of evolved through stages. When I was born, Armenians are the first Christian nation to accept Christianity since 301 AD. And Christianity was also the reason that we were Ottoman Turkish genocide took place, because after Armenia accepted as a country, as a nation, accepted Christianity, then 500 years later, the countries around Turkey, Syria, Iraq, Lebanon, Jordan, they all started one by one to accept Islam, the Muslim religion. And when Ottoman Empire was losing its control, and their goal was to expand to Russia, to all around, all the way to Siberia and the Balkan countries. When they were unable to do that and they started retrieving, they thought that Christianity and Armenians being Christian is the source, and they need to annihilate all Armenians to be able to maintain some source of control and power. So a handful of Armenians who did convert to Islam were saved, or they married by force the girls. They picked the most beautiful Armenian girls to marry the older 40, 50-year-old Muslim leaders in Ottoman Empire. Those were spared, but others who did not convert and let go of their faith and spirituality, they were killed. So that is the root of, yes, it's not spirituality. After I came here to America, I started exploring other religions and other forms of expressions of spirituality. So in order to do that, of course, I had studied Islam and read the Quran in Syria and the Bible in Armenian and English. And then I read about Buddhism. I studied in the university Hinduism, Jainism,
Mm.
Caroline Myss. And then I was still suffering with anger, and that anger against the enemy,
Mhm.
those who, the Ottoman Empire, the Israeli government, who has caused us so much pain and suffering. And still today, they are causing suffering because they are supporting Azerbaijan, who just conducted ethnic cleansing right before in October of 2023. And
Mm.
they started bombing our villages and threw 120,000 Armenians out of their ancestral homes over 350 years. They've been there, churches, Linda, cathedrals, museums. They're just blowing them up. And who's helping? Turkey and Israel is helping Azerbaijan to do this. And what is America doing? Nothing, because
Mm.
Azerbaijan has fuel and Mobile, Exxon, some of them are invested in Azerbaijan because of
Right.
power,
Mhm.
greed, and money.
Yes.
So these things have really, over the years, looking at the relationship between religion, spirituality, politics, has really taken me to a very uncomfortable place
Mhm.
where I was filled with that anger was hurting me, of course,
Yes.
and of course others too. I had a lot of digestive issues. And then I went and studied with Viktor Frankl.
Ah, oh, how wonderful.
And his book, Man's Search for Meaning, I
Yes.
really is transformative. Yes, he's not known as a spiritual person, but he, even going through surviving Auschwitz,
Mhm.
he has always come out with helping people find deeper meaning in their
Yes.
experience
Mhm.
so that they don't hold on those grudges and anger and then retaliate. Linda, you know how many countries in Africa, Kenya, Congo, Sierra Leone, Rwanda, they're all tribal wars. One tribe kind of gets power and tries to kill everybody in the other tribe, and
Mm.
then 10, 15 years go by, but there's no healing or forgiveness. And then the other tribe starts because the anger and retaliation is being
Mhm.
nurtured over the years. So we're going to show them. And then they explode, and the other tribe now kills this one. And this is what we're experiencing all around the world. Now, in Congo currently, like over 5 million have been killed. Do we talk about it? Nobody in America even talks about it. We ask people in our support groups, workshops, nobody has heard it. And that's what's going on. We have people who are joining us on support group from Uganda who are Congolese. They fled and they don't know where their family is because
Mm.
they have no communication, telephone or otherwise, mobiles, nothing. So, in order to transform that, Viktor Frankl was instrumental in my transformation, and that's why our organization is called Meaningfulworld.
Ah.
We found out that when people don't have a deeper positive meaning in their life, they make their life miserable. It's like a slow suicide and homicide because they pull others down with them. So the first thing he said when we had just finished our research on the survivors of Ottoman Turkish genocide who were 75, 80 years old, and and they were so prospering so well and doing so well. But as soon as we discussed the denial of genocide, because it's a $1 billion campaign that Turkish government takes on each year to deny genocide. That's a whole separate lecture or program, because I have like 20 examples to give you, including the ones at the United Nations, right? 4 years ago when we were in person. We have been now, since COVID, we have been online basically.
Yeah.
Our program on March 13 will be in person though. So it has been enormous to see how people, even when they have all the comfort of the world, if you don't have a sense, purpose, deeper meaning, if your meaning is not big house, big strong, taking on the lands of everybody else, like I'm hearing about Gaza, and taking on neighbors' lands and taking on other people's belongings, and all this comes from because they don't have a deeper spiritual meaning in life. So they think they, by gathering more things, more land, more cars, more houses, more things, that they're going to feel more secure. But it's not, because we have seen over and over, and I can give you a quick example, Linda. We had an intern from Long Island, from the Hamptons, which is, as you know, a very affluent society.
Yes.
And our intern in high school, she said she went through 19 funerals of her classmates. Overdose, suicide, crashing their brand new Corvettes into trees, etc., because their parents are involved in their work and not interested in the children. There is no deeper sense. When there's a little discomfort, they give them another car, they give them a computer, they give them things.
Yes.
The generations start thinking that gathering things is really the meaning in life. But as Viktor Frankl says, when your meaning is connected to a person or a thing, that is not really going to sustain you, because we have seen in 40 seconds, in an earthquake or a hurricane or a fire, all your $1.5 million worth house, everything is done.
Yes.
Quick example, one lady in Northridge, when we went to Northridge, California after the 1994 earthquake, she said that every earthquake she has been replacing her her collection of blue cobalt china or something.
Yeah.
Finally, she realized, working with us, that she hasn't even used those china
Yes.
all her life. And it has caused her more pain and suffering trying to keep them, protect them, recollect them, etc. And then she had that aha moment. That's not what life is. I'm going to go and help other people now with this new found realization and insight that it's not the China, it's about the human spirit.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
Needs,
Go ahead. Please
that
finish.
needs to be nurtured. And that's what Viktor Frankl helped me to be on the right track of a spiritual awakening and transformation, and slowly I built this organization, and then helping the 50 countries and 26 states, etc., all on voluntary basis.
Well, I want to hear much more about that. We need to take a break. And I want to come back, Ani, to hear why you started the organization. You've talked a lot about it, but I want to hear specifically what was your moment of starting Meaningful World. Let's take a break now, and we'll be back with some exciting conversation.
Yes.
Were you an essential worker during the pandemic? If you needed to learn stages of epilepsy, did you depend on advocates? Did you use new innovations to cope with mental and neurological issues? Maintaining high quality of life and keeping good mental health are what we all strive for. I'm Frank R. Harrison, host of Frank About Health, and each week top healthcare influencers, professionals, and innovators answer these questions and more. Stay tuned on Thursdays at 5 p.m. on talkradio.nyc, and I will continue to be frank about health with all of you.
Are you a conscious co-creator? Are you on a quest to raise your vibration and your consciousness? I'm Sam Leibowitz, your conscious consultant, and on my show, The Conscious Consultant Hour, Awakening Humanity, we will touch upon all these topics and more. Listen live at our new time on Thursdays at 12 noon Eastern Time. That's The Conscious Consultant Hour, Awakening Humanity, Thursdays 12 noon on talkradio.nyc.
You're listening to Talk Radio NYC at www.talkradio.nyc. Now broadcasting 24 hours a day.
Welcome back to the A Train to Sedona. We're continuing with my guest, Dr. Ani Kalayjian, and I want to know, what was the aha moment? What was the spark that had you start Meaningful World?
Very good question. Although all those experiences I shared contributed to its development, because I really, my top priority was to help people to not go through what I went through until I met Viktor Frankl. I wanted to help and guide and expedite their transformation, their aha moment, their insights. And but the point was when we did the research with over close to 100 survivors of the Ottoman Turkish genocide, when we asked them the last question about the denial and how that makes them feel, they went into an outrage that really shocked us all, because we were about 5-6 different mental health practitioners that we each interviewed, and we would meet every night after the interview. We would be crying because it was heart-wrenching to hear their experiences of the genocide and going through the desert for 6 months until they got to Aleppo, Syria. And I mean, the details is just heart-wrenching. That's another program. But what really I asked, it was haunting us there, that they're 75, 80, you know, the last stage of development, they need to have their negative emotions resolved. They need to be in a peaceful place where they are kind of reminiscing the good old days and etc. And I needed to help them to shift, because that anger is not a good way to go, to transition, to die with that kind of anger and resentment. And I approached Viktor Frankl about that, and he was like very easy in his Viennese accent. Well, you have to help them forgive. And I was like, Viktor Frankl, Dr. Frankl, how do you forgive when everyone is denying? At that time, United States had not even validated. It was just during yeah, 3 years ago, 4 years ago, it was accepted in the US. And only 38 countries out of 200 that validate and accept it. So I said, how do you forgive something that no one is believing, and Turkey is spending so much money to campaigning to deny it? And he was very, very fast. He said, how long you plan to wait?
Oh.
That was my aha moment. I was like, you know, we're doing this all wrong. We're waiting for the perpetrator to come and acknowledge. In our history, there has not been any perpetrator who has come and acknowledged, okay, Holocaust, because all the international community got together and forced Germany to take responsibility, and they start paying reparations, and they moved them all to Palestine. Of course, that's another program. We're not going to go into that. But in terms of the Ottoman Empire, there was nothing discussed. It's not in our books. It's not studied in America like it is, like Holocaust is studied. So I said, that's it. We don't need to wait. We have to create groups to validate one another and move on. And that's when I started thinking about this situation when I had a couple client whose wife got sexually transmitted disease, of course, from the husband. And they had agreed that they would have an open marriage, but they had 3-4 conditions, and the husband did not go along with the conditions. It wasn't safe, and she was sick. And she was insisting to me in the session, saying that, well, it's his responsibility. He caused it. He has to do something about it. But I'm saying, you have the infection. You have to take the antibiotic. You have to heal yourself and learn how to protect yourself.
Mm-hmm.
And then you can engage with your husband through therapy to find out what is this rebellion, or what is it that's going on. And then after that, I always give to my clients and students, or the workshops that I do, is that when you are bitten by a poisonous snake, your first responsibility is to ensure to squeeze that poison out of your system. You
Yes.
don't run after the snake trying to find out why the snake bit you and what's going on in their life and their situation. Then you'll die by that time.
Yes, indeed.
The first responsibility, we have to take on responsibility for our self-healing and transformation. We cannot continue blaming our parents, our ancestors. Yes, I have generational trauma. Well, am I going to sit and blame my ancestors? They went through genocide. Of course, it wasn't their doing. And even if it was, people evolve. They're not going to do the same thing, hopefully, today if they had caused you any harm. And that's where we started working and researching on forgiveness. And we wrote a book on forgiveness. But our book on forgiveness is more academic, based on research. And it goes from Rwanda, the genocide, how they started gacaca groups for forgiveness. They sat down together, the community, and they went through first expression of feelings, then validation, and then reparation is very important. So what is the reparation? Community service, maybe, depending on how big your wrongdoing is, then it's comparable. The reparation would be
Yes.
comparable to that.
Yes.
But there is another book on forgiveness that is elementary before our book that is that I use at the Columbia University. I would recommend Robin Kalayjian book, Forgiveness, A Bold Choice for a Peaceful Heart, because this one is like very basic, written for everyday person.
Mm-hmm.
Goes through chapters, forgiving parents,
Mm-hmm.
forgiving partners, forgiving siblings, forgiving yourself.
Yes.
Is very important to do for everyone,
For all of us.
for
Because,
all of us.
Ani, when we don't forgive, we hold it against ourselves.
Exactly.
Energetically, emotionally, and we need to work it through and let it go as soon as we can.
Exactly, because you are unconsciously tied up with the perpetrator.
Yes.
That you don't want that, because you're carrying another negative person with you all the time, and there is no freedom for you and for them. So now, the most important thing we have to remember with forgiveness is protecting ourselves. It doesn't mean you stay in that marriage where your husband is going around not following the rules and regulations you set forth and having sex with everybody, and without being open, transparent about it. So the most important thing after forgiving is protecting yourself.
I think that's very important. Yeah.
Evaluating relationships, because I have a lot of also couples with domestic violence. They say, well, he said he brought flowers and he said he's remorseful, but 3 months later she's telling me the same story. And I said, listen, I understand it's a good thing to forgive, but if this is a pattern, you have to protect yourself, because your children are looking at this as a role model. And that's a very negative and unnecessary burden you are transmitting to your children. You have to set limits, have clear boundaries, and be able to heal yourself, and let go of that. So that was the aha moment with Viktor Frankl when he said, how long you plan to wait? It was
What
like,
a provocative statement.
isn't it short and sweet?
Boom.
And it was boom, exactly.
Yeah.
And from there, one after the other, we wrote the book on forgiveness. We gather all collective, countrywide, individual forgiveness, countrywide, intergroup, etc. And the first time that was used for peace building. That was part of American Psychological Association's Peace Division. They don't use that when you, for example, we have the United Nations Council on Human Rights. We were called 2 years ago to come as leaders for civil society. Do we have to take a break now?
We have just about 30 seconds. So continue.
30 seconds. So I'll tell this afterwards. Yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
So we will take a break, and when we come back, we'll continue with that. And then I'm wondering, Ani, you are in 50 countries. How do you gain entrance into the country? Do you reach out to them? Do they reach out to you? I want to hear all about that. But for now, let's take our commercial break so that we can return to these very intriguing details.
Great, great. I like that.
Hey everybody, it's Tommy D, the nonprofit sector connector, coming at you from my attic. Each week here on talkradio.nyc, I host a program, Philanthropy in Focus. Nonprofits impact us each and every day, and it's my focus to help them amplify their message and tell their story. Listen each week at 10 a.m. Eastern Standard Time until 11 a.m. Eastern Standard Time, right here on talkradio.nyc.
Hi, I'm Linda Marcanico. The A Train to Sedona is a memoir about my journey to love and compassion. It's also the name of my new broadcast on Wednesdays at 12 noon. When we are spiritual, we embrace possibilities and ideas, which strengthen our mind, body, spirit, health, and wisdom. On the A Train to Sedona broadcast, I plan to interview guests who embrace these expansive practices. Join us on Wednesdays at 12 noon on Talk Radio New York City.
You're listening to Talk Radio NYC at www.talkradio.nyc. Now broadcasting 24 hours a day.
Hello, everyone. Welcome back to the A Train to Sedona. My guest is Dr. Ani Kalayjian, and I practically stopped her in mid-sentence. So I would like to have you continue, and we're going to have some very interesting dialogue. Please continue, Ani.
We were talking about forgiveness and how although our book was the first in peace building series at the APA, but I see that it's not really used in political important decisions. So we were invited to the United Nations to meet with the chair of the Human Rights Council, and I asked him two questions. We had just come back from Armenia, where I just mentioned earlier, 120,000 Armenians were thrown out. There was ethnic cleansing by Azerbaijan's government. And so the first question was, I haven't seen any report from the Human Rights Council, which they usually do reports. So I said, I haven't seen any, if you can guide me to the proper place. And second, I said, we have peace building programs, we have forgiveness for peace building, we have mediation for peace, we have conflict transformation programs, we have divisions in American Psychological Association, International Society for Traumatic Stress, etc. I said, how many of those players, stakeholders, are on the table with you when you're making these decisions? And you know, Linda, to my disappointment, this man talked for at least 5 or 8 or 10 minutes and not responding to my question. I turned to our intern who does international relations, a student at international relations and political science. And I said, is that me? Or the chair did not respond to my questions. He had a smirk on his face. He said, this is the political response where they have a lot of almost like a word salad, all kinds of really high, big words put together just to appear that they are doing something and nothing. It was extremely disappointing because we invest so much. The NGO, civil society invests so much in peace building programs, empowerment, and conflict transformation, conflict resolution, mediation, you name it. And I'm part of many of these organizations. But when it comes to government, they don't really integrate this jewel of people and information and methods to embracing conflicts instead of attacking. We after 9/11 went into attack mode. We after Gaza incident went into attack mode. It seems like we keep using the old-fashioned, outdated methods of dealing with conflict. I mean, we have all this communication, therapeutic communication, and all these methods, and what a waste If your
Mm.
governments are not using it, what are we doing here? How can we bridge the gap between governments and academic programs where they are amazing programs, not
Yes.
just academic, even in civil society groups, NGOs.
Yeah.
You know, Linda, that we are not allowed in every meeting. We have to submit as a civil society a week before, 3 months before, a month before, etc. Every block they can put for civil society not to engage with the governments, they will do it.
Why do you think the government is so slow to embrace social scientific methods of conflict resolution?
Uh, that's $1 million question, Linda. And we have been actively working at the UN as civil society with Meaningful World since 1989.
Hmm.
26, wait, yeah, 36
Very-
36 years. Yes, there is a slight improvement. I can't say there's no improvement, very small. And we have to fight every step of the way for those kind of small improvements.
Hmm.
Or there was no mental health or psychology at all in all these beautiful documents that's prepared by the UN. And in 1994, we Meaningful World, organized the very first mental health conference.
Mm-hmm.
And from that mental health conference, we were able to address some of the disasters and address and invite other civil society and mental health organizations. So they started adding mental health. Before, health was only maternal health, like women don't do anything else but are machines for bringing children. There was nothing about mental health. So in 94, they started adding, after our all day conference, they started adding mental health. And then in 2010, then we started. Now, when you add a new word or term, it gets bracketed, put in brackets. 200 countries have to deliberate, have meetings, meetings and meetings and meetings. If they all agree, majority, then the bracket gets dropped and it's accepted, adopted within the document.
I see.
And this is really taking so long, so much time. But now psychology is in fact, it's not really in the documents, but psychology, there's a psychology coalition.
Mm.
And there are 18 civil society organizations, including Meaningful World, ATOP Meaningful World, and APA, and ISTSS, and a few others who are part of this coalition. And we have one day on April 24 where we have a psychology day at the UN. But still, governments never show. We invite all the governments, and we have to beg, take them for lunch, take them for coffee, do everything we can. We still hardly get one ambassador if we are lucky, Linda.
It's a good thing. It's a good thing, Ani, that you're patient.
Yeah. Yeah. Many, you're right, Linda. You know how many of my colleagues said, aren't you tired? You've been at that over 30 years, and for this much improvement. And well, what is the choice, Linda? If we don't do anything, then we don't get this much either. So we're in just persisting patiently, just a little bit at a time, a little bit at a time, hoping that that transition and the bridge will be set together. Because when we first started, I invited the APA leaders were in New York. I invited them to the UN, to a meeting, and then to the delegate dining room. And I told the Major D, the psychologists are here. He turns around and he says to his staff, the psychics are here, the psychics are here. I said, no, there's a difference. These are psychologists. It's a science. It's not psychic. That's a different field.
Yes.
So from that day, there is improvement, Linda.
I'm glad to hear. But you know what I'm thinking, Ani? You mentioned that you wanted to recite your poem that love transforms. And I want you to have enough time because we're going to be cut off at the other end. There, I could see we could talk and talk and talk. You have so much to share with us. But I am impressed by your patience. It's certainly a virtue.
I just quickly want to say that the way we transform is through the 7-step integrative healing model, and you can learn all about that in Forget Me Not, which goes through step by step. And each chapter has questions, leading questions, and if you do respond to the questions, you will have your own biography. So that's I just wanted to mention that. Also mention our website, meaningfulworld.com. People can visit and see the books, and also our published research articles are there in PDF that you can download.
And I just want to say quickly that you have asked for donations.
Yes, yes.
And you have asked, I'll just say a few of them. Sponsoring a child in Puerto Rico, Haiti, Africa, or Armenia, $750 for a full year of school, books, uniform, and transportation. Sewing machines for girls in orphanages in Haiti, $325 per machine, $325 per machine.
So, we have 1 minute. I don't know if I can. Well, I'll start and we'll end wherever we are. So let love transform you. Let the flames of love help you focus on all that is essential and true. Let love illuminate you and pave your road with passion. Let love take you away at the same time centering you to choose the good in spite of evil. Let love help you concentrate always on the present, letting go of the past as well as the unknown future. Let love fill your heart, opening your heart and letting it blossom like a little budding flower. Let love help you mature to a full aromatic rose. Love is the most essential feeling. Let it fill your heart, your mind, your body, and soul. Love is the most noble deed. Let it work endlessly through you. We have time to continue?
Go on for a bit more, please.
Love is passion and compassion. Love is patience and forgiveness. Love is inspiration and awareness. Love is eternal mindfulness. Let love penetrate the depths of your soul, purifying you within and all around, cleansing the negative past, paving your current path, shaping your uncertain future. Let love be your guide, your loving watchdog, your sight when you're blinded, your voice when you're silenced. Let love be with you forever and ever to eternity.
Thank you so much. Dr. Ani Kalayjian, thank you so much for being my guest. Just say where people can find you. Now, this is all in the show notes, everybody. But what's the website for Meaningful World?
Meaningfulworld.com.
Lovely. And I want to say, listeners, next time I have as my guest Samantha Ka'awa. She does wonderful things with marriage and couple counseling. Tune in. We'll see you then.
All right. Wonderful.
Bye-bye for now.
Thank you so much.